Hi there, it's Timmy, and this is TimmyWA and what have you, along with my lovely wife Rachel. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Good. All right. Thank you for joining us. I hope you had a wonderful week. Hope everything's going well in your lives, and I thank you for joining us as always. So let's get right into this. We're at part number 9 of our walk through Disneyland to talk about and visit all the attractions and rides. We're still in Fantasyland this week. And we're moving from the Alice in Wonderland rides right into Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Now, before we do that,
Yes.
we do want to point out our cool new Disney World shirts.
Yes.
Right?
We got all the 4 parks represented.
We've got Hollywood Tower of Terror here.
Yep.
You got it there. We got, and that's at Hollywood Studios, right?
Studios, yep.
I've got Magic Kingdom here, and you've got it in a couple spots there, right? You've got
Space
Space
Mountain.
Mountain and Magic Kingdom.
Cinderella Castle.
I've got
the Tree of Life.
the Tree of Life, which is at Animal Kingdom. And then, of course, the Epcot Ball.
The
You've got the
Epcot Ball.
Epcot Ball,
Spaceship
and
Earth.
you've got the Tree of Life also there. So, yeah,
So we're all
very
set up.
cool.
So we got that in our recent trip to Walt Disney World last few weeks. I'm still trying to figure out Adobe Premiere to make the video because I want to make it really cool. It's just taking a while, so appreciate your guys' patience. So also got this cool little deal, and that's kind of fun. And a newest addition to our wall of artifacts is this cool So it's a 50-year anniversary Doom buggy from Haunted Mansion, of course.
There you go.
And that's a cool little artifact that we'll add to our wall of artifacts. So that's pretty cool. My wife fired Pusheen, the cat.
Ugly little creature.
I don't know, I liked it, but whatever. All right, let's move on. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, one of the classic Disneyland opening rides. Opened with the park, of course, July 17th, 1955. And it's a dark ride. Very simple, straightforward. We'll talk a little more in depth, but basically there's been 2 versions of the ride. And this was, of course, part of the 1983 whole new Fantasyland refurbishment that they did during that year. I think it took a couple of years to do it all. But so we'll talk more about that in depth. But basically, this dark ride operates only at Disneyland in California. There was a version of it in Walt Disney World until 1998. So it opened with the Magic Kingdom in 1971, and it was replaced by Winnie the Pooh, the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, in September of 1998. There's also a restaurant in Disneyland Paris called Toad Hall that has all sorts of artwork and theming around Mr. Toad and the movie and book that it's based on. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we, since we were just in Disney World, the Winnie the Pooh ride there's a lot better, I would say, than the Winnie the Pooh ride that's at Critter Country Disneyland. Would you agree?
Well, the line is certainly better. The queue is certainly better. I don't
A lot
know.
more interactive queue.
Yeah. I don't know if I would say better. It's just different.
So my big complaint about the Disneyland ride
Uh-huh.
is that you get like that much legroom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
The
definitely.
ride vehicles are just terrible for grown-ups.
Yeah,
For
definitely.
kids, fine. But it's a basic ride. A lot of blacklight use. So Mr. Toad's is based on the 1949 film The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. That's a Disney film, a cartoon. Of course, one of my favorite Halloween time movies to watch that I usually never get to.
Not one of my
Some
favorites.
people don't like it. Is of course Ichabod, and then it's just kind of a 2-parter thing, Ichabod and Mr. Toad, and then of course that part of it's based on the 1908 novel by Kenneth Grahame called The Wind in the Willows. So that's where the ride comes from. That's where all the Thaddeus Toad and all the different characters that are in the ride, and that's where the storyline goes through because now Mr. Toad is kind of a manic, and he's really gets obsessive about things, and one of the things he discovers is motorcars. And so he goes through and terrorizes his whole town and the countryside and drives through houses and bars and pubs and libraries, and so you get a bit of that going through the game, going through the ride.
Not much about Ichabod Crane though in the ride, huh?
I think they're separate.
There's not
No
Headless
references.
Horseman or anything like that.
No.
Yeah.
You do get the Headless Horseman though Halloween time in California Adventure. They put that big statue up there,
Oh yes,
right
that's
there
true.
on Buena Vista Street, I think,
Yeah.
and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Rider's Board. There's 16 different cars,
Yep.
and it's a 1900s era motor car.
motorcar.
Motor car. Yes, thank
Very
you.
good, very good.
And each of the cars are named after one of the characters in the film. Each of the cars hold 2 adults, and of course you can squish a little character of your own, a little child of your own in between. And over on the right hand side, because of course we're in London, right? So there's a steering wheel over on the right hand side. Doesn't move or anything, but that's kind of fun for the kids. I want to drive,
Right.
but they don't actually drive. So,
They can go to the Autopia for that, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes. So, as Tim mentioned before, there were 2 versions. There are 2 different versions of the ride because they did do a full refurbishment in 1983, where they gave the outside building a whole new facade style. And that was true of kind of all of Fantasyland, right? So in the early days of Disneyland, all of Fantasyland kind of had a very circus tent, medieval style look about it, and now it has very much a 1900s style, very London-ish style about it.
For sure.
And then also in the 1983 refurbishment, they added an end scene that is not in the movie or the books, and that is where you drive through hell. Very interesting. It gets very hot in there, which I like personally because I'm always cold. And
Even in Southern California.
Even in Southern California. So it's a time when I can go, oh, I'm finally warm. But so you drive through hell, and there's a judge up there saying you are condemned, you're guilty.
Guilty.
Yeah, and that's kind of just the very, very end, ending of the
finale,
ride. Yeah, the finale of the ride. So they add that ending scene, and they kind of just improve on the characters. And that's kind of the big thing that they did in 1983.
Yep, exactly. So in 1983, like we talked about, was huge new Fantasyland refurbished that took over all of Fantasyland. It's when they relocated King Arthur's Carousel. They relocated the Mad Tea Party over by Alice in Wonderland, and they redecorated all the facades for all the rides in that the castle courtyard. Again, brought it up to that kind of classic British London type look. So it kind of fits better with the Peter Pan motif. It fits better with the Mr. Toad's Wild Ride and Pinocchio, even though it's kind of Italian, but whatever. So it was a big project. It was a big undertaking. Now, I had never been to Disneyland before even 1987. That was my first visit ever. So I don't have any point of reference to that.
Yeah, and I'm sure I have, but I mean, I was 5 at that time,
tiny.
so I don't remember.
So yeah.
But yeah.
So if you remember, and you want to share, maybe if you have pictures, or if you want to share some of your thoughts or feelings, put them in the comments.
That'd be
below.
cool.
We'd love to see that, and we'll definitely talk about that in a future video, because Fantasyland was a huge refurb that they did back in 1983. So some of the other things they did, like we talked about in Alice in Wonderland, is they kind of redid all the set decorations in the ride, and they kind of like fleshed out everything. So everything before, because of old techniques and methods and technology, everything was pretty flat and pretty two-dimensional, and so everything was very just, and so by the time 1983 came around, technology. improved, methods and techniques all improved, so they kind of made everything kind of three-dimensional, flushed it all out, made it look a lot more realistic. They also, and I didn't know there's nothing, I just remembered it, they also took some of the the visual sight gags that was in the Disney World version over into the California version. One of them in particular, the one that I remember reading about, was in the pub. The bartender had the spinning beer steins, and that wasn't in the original version, but it was in the Disney World version, and so they brought that over, and along with a couple other things, and then of course they added the hell scene, which we talked about. So a couple of quick facts about Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, just for you to be aware of. The ride length is about 2 minutes. It's pretty straightforward, pretty basic. It is kind of herky-jerky at times because the idea is Mr. Toad's on a wild ride, and he's got motorcar fever, and he's driving and going through buildings and stuff. So you do get kind of that fast, curvy and turn, but it's still just a kind of really mellow, dark ride.
It's very mellow.
So don't worry about it. You're not going to get sick. You're not going to be tossed around. You're not going to get bruised. It's not like Indiana Jones.
You don't need a seatbelt, so it's, infants can ride on your lap. It's very tame.
So for that, there's no height requirement. You need any height. If you're an expectant mother, that's fine. You're okay. Of course, you make your own judgment, of course, but you'll be fine. No wheelchair access. You have to transfer. And of course, because of the style and the way that it's all designed, there's no single rider and there's no max or fast passes for this particular ride. So that's kind of a quick summary of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. If you liked it, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button for us, and we'll continue to put new videos out for you.
So one other thing I wanted to bring up, and that is hidden Mickeys. We've never really talked about hidden Mickeys in our segments before, but this is a good time to bring it up.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, so for those of you who don't know what hidden Mickeys are, they're the shape of Mickey Mouse's head, hidden all over the park. So Walt, just being an imaginative guy. Let me see. This is kind of a good example of it right here. If you can kind of see just this,
just that basic shape.
Just that basic shape here on this pin. It just hidden all over the park, and it's in the ride queues. It's in rides itself. It may be even on the ground, just kind of hidden. And we've gotten
shrubbery and flowers.
Yeah. And we've gotten to a point where in everyday life, as we're walking down the street, we'll be like, "Hidden Mickey."
We'll call something out.
Yeah. And even in the fireworks, they'll do it at night in the fireworks. So it's really cool the way Disney does that. But there's a book that you can buy. There's an app that you can buy that will tell you where on the rides you can find these hidden Mickeys. Yeah. And within Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, there's one in particular that we've never been able to find. So, and that is, as you first get on the ride, you load on, and right before they set you off, there is a stained glass window. Yeah. And somewhere in that stained glass window, there is a hidden Mickey that we have never been able to find. So
it's a toughie.
If you are able to find it, please let us know where it is, because we
haven't found it.
We haven't found it. So let us know in the comments where it is.
And we've asked cast members, and they're not helpful. They pretend that they don't know what we're talking about. They're like, so they give you a funny look. Now, there's one in the queue line inside the building when you first get in the building where the big statue of Thaddeus Toad is. And it's in his eye. It's like in the little circles within the eye where the artist would draw like the little reflections. It's a little hidden Mickey right in the eye. So we know about that one. So, but the one that's in the stained glass is one we've just never seen.
Yeah.
We keep looking, and I don't know. So and that seems like, because we were just at Disney World, the hidden Mickey thing, I think it happens at Disney World, but I don't feel like it's such a big thing.
It doesn't. I mean, at least we've never gotten the app or anything like that. But yeah, I definitely haven't seen it as much at Disney World.
I know they're there. I've seen people refer to them, but it doesn't seem like a big thing.
Yeah.
And maybe because it's so big, and maybe it's too hard to focus on that. But I know they're there, and you can find them, and we found a couple, and it's kind of cool. So maybe what we'll do with Hidden Mickeys is maybe after we're done with this series of videos, maybe we'll have a couple videos about Hidden Mickeys, and we'll talk about where we can find them, and people can share their secrets and stuff.
Okay, that'd be good.
All right, so
because there's a couple other secrets where sometimes it's not a Mickey, sometimes it's an Eeyore or you know, something like that. So we'd be interested in hearing your thoughts, and of course the app and the book are a couple years old, and so some of the newer rides aren't in the app or in the book, and so
there's even one in Galaxy's Edge. It's over by.
Is there?
And I keep forgetting to talk about it.
Yeah, you
there.
never even told me about
It's
this.
by Docking Bay 7, that restaurant. It's on the wall somewhere, and
You didn't even show me that. Ugh. I'm
Guilty.
angry at you. We need to go back now.
All right.
See, and it's not on the app. Like, I don't know why they haven't updated the app, but it's not on the app. It's not in the book. So it's like, if you see that kind of stuff, let us know. And yeah, maybe we'll have a whole segment on hidden Mickeys and just have a discussion on that. So
Great. And if you have hidden Mickeys you know about, put them in the comments below.
Yeah.
We'll compile all of them, and we'll match them against our notes. And one thing I wanted to mention, it's on the plans. I'm not promising anything, but the plans for next year, for 2020, for us, are to get annual passes for Disneyland. And that's our plan. We're hoping Rachel's doing all the money calculating to make sure we can afford it, because it gets more expensive every year.
yeah.
But we plan to do it, and we plan to make that a big thing to where we can share with you our visits and our the content we can come up with, and share our fun and joy that we have at Disney, and actually give you a lot more footage as opposed to you just looking at us on a video. So that's the plan. No promises, but that's the plan. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Coming
for
up
us anyway.
Yeah, coming up next week here. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about Peter Pan, the Peter Pan's flight, right?
Which is one of my favorites in Fantasyland.
And we'll talk about some tips and tricks on how to best use that ride, because there are no fast passes or anything, and it's always a really, really long wait.
By far the longest line in Fantasyland.
If not
every time.
all of Disney for the most part. So
only because there's no fast passes.
that's true.
Or max passes.
True.
Or
So-
single rider. Yeah.
So that's coming up next week, so stay tuned for that. As always, if you have anything you want to share with us, put it in the comments below. I ask that you like the video. What that does is that tells YouTube to like us and push our video out to more people into searches and stuff like that. So please like the video, subscribe, and hit the little bell icon next to the subscribe button so that you can get a notification that we put out a new video. So that's cool. And then share the video with all your friends. Put it on your social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you want to do. Just get the word out. We'd love to reach more people and share our love and our passion and our joy for all things Disney, but mainly Disneyland in California. So we'll be back next week with Peter Pan. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a really good week, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.